But I don't even usually check that group.
Yes?
I don't know. I didn't know the work was there. Just didn't.
On the group.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Okay. Had you covered the correlation at school?
Yes, we had done some part of it.
Some part of it. So which part hadn't you covered?
Let me see.
Have you identified the area?
It's paper two, eh?
Yes, paper 2. Correlation diagrams.
Um, but we did rank correlation.
And the scatter diagrams?
Yeah, we also did that one.
You did. So that means you'll come and go through this unit here, you read it through, and then you attempt the work that is there. How about index numbers?
Index numbers, not yet.
Not yet. So let us go through those ones. I hope you are now comfortable with using the site.
I know how to use the site, but just that it takes a lot of time to log.
Takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it tells me I try to log in, it tells me I've already logged in, but it can't open the stuff. I don't know. Every time I'm using one device. Teacher keeps saying that I'm using different devices, but I'm using one laptop for that stuff.
Maybe sometimes
So,
it's because of network.
I really don't know that. I just keep on clicking
Refreshing.
stuff until I'm finally.
Okay. So let us now go through the index numbers.
Okay.
So you can read.
Okay. That an index number is the measure of change in a variable or group of variables variables over time. It is typically used in economics to measure trends in a wide variety of areas, including stock market prices, cost of living, industrial or agricultural production, and inputs. Index numbers are one of the most used statistical tools in economics. Index numbers are not directly measurable but represented relative represent represent general relative changes. They are typically expressed as percentages.
Okay, so an index number, we are saying it measures two. It measures change in a variable. For example, between 1 year and another year, if we compared the prices of maybe a single item, like maybe an example of the foodstuffs like maize. So if we compare the prices in several years, so that measure we use an index number to measure that relative change in that variable, or we can say in a group of variables. For example, we look at prices of foodstuffs over time between maybe from 2018, 2019, then 2019 to 2020. So it measures relative changes in variables, and it normally tells us, we use it in most cases to tell the standard of living, the cost of living. And when we go into much details of economics, then it is able to tell the stock market prices, the industrial agricultural production and imports. And we express them as a percentage. So above 100, we consider that there was an increase, and below 100, we consider that there was an increase, as it is indicated in this should be like an image. So we are saying index numbers. So we are saying by method, index number is equal to value in period of interest over value in base period times 100. In these index numbers, we look at base year or current year, or here like what they have said, area of a period of interest over base period. And in the base period, we consider it to be a period when prices are relatively stable, and majorly these index numbers mostly deal with prices. So we shall, in most cases, use the word price. So we are saying when the value exceeds 100, it indicates an increase in the level of activity. So in choosing the base period, we choose a period when maybe in case of prices, when prices are relatively stable, or when other economic variables are relatively stable. So that is why. So we give a base year an index of 100, and then it is on that basis that we now base on it to either tell whether there was an increase or whether there was a reduction in the level of activity. So we are saying when the value is less than 100, it indicates a decrease in the level of activity, and activity can indicate a change either in a price index, in quantity index. We shall look at weighted index, so all those ones, but we shall be able to calculate them. So we are saying, for example, in the table, the year 2015 has been chosen as the base year. The value of 2015 is therefore the base value, and it is 100%. So we are saying the index can be found in the last column. So the index. So here we have year, we have value, we have increase or decrease. So the year was 20, it runs from 2012 to 2015. and then we have values here, 53, 53, 56. So this is the value. Then we have increase or decrease. So we are seeing here that compared to 2015, which they used as a base year, we are able to see that 2015 is here. So it had 58,743. So that was given a 0, because when we subtract it from itself, it gives us 0. And then this was 19. So when we get all these values divided by, when we get all these values minus the base, so that is, you see, we are able to get 91, 85, then 4.3 and onwards, and this would be the what, the index. But we are going to critically look at how we calculate these index numbers. So calculating with index numbers, because an index is a percentage, you can calculate this the same way. So we use the same way to calculate the index number. So we shall simply be looking at base current year price. We divide it by the base year price, and then we multiply by the 100. And the base year price is always specified in the question, or if not specified, it is given an index of 100 throughout, to tell us that that is a year where maybe the economic variables were relatively stable. So let me get some question to before we go to. So we have the methods of index number. So we have simple, and then we have weighted. So for simple, we calculate simple aggregate and simple relative. And then these ones have these formulas that all of us will use, but these ones we shall not. We are going to see which formulas to use apart from these ones given here for our advanced level. Then for weighted, we calculate weighted aggregate or weighted relative. So we shall deal with simple aggregate, simple relative, weighted average, aggregate, and weighted relative. So somehow the words may, like simple aggregate price index might come in, simple average may come in, but those ones should not scare us very much. So after this image, then it takes us to the types of index numbers. So you can read a simple index number.
Simple index number. I read.
Yes.
A simple index number is a number that measures a relative change in a single variable with respect to a base.
So this simple index measures change in a single variable. For example, change in the price of a single item like maize, a single item like rice, a simple item like wheat, and etc. So that one we call it simple index. Next one. Composite index number.
It is a number that measures an average relative changes in a group of relative variables with respect to a base. The following index numbers are usually used. Price index numbers and quantity index numbers.
So this one measures relative changes in terms of average of a group of relatives. So like above, if we find the simple index for maybe each commodity among the foodstuffs, so when we come to the composite, then we are now interested in the average of those foodstuffs. And then we have price index numbers. These ones are the same. So this one now brings us to the real prices. We are saying is price index numbers measures the relative changes in the price of a commodity between two periods. So prices can be either retail or wholesale. So here, this one measures relative changes in prices between two periods, but of the same commodity. Then quantity index numbers, these ones are considered to measure changes in the physical quantities of goods consumed or sold for an item or a group of items. So here we look at the quantity, because we know that sometimes the quantities also reduce and in some other times they increase. So those are some types of index numbers whose calculations we are going to look at. Then we go to the construction of index numbers. Then we have the word current year. We have another keyword which is the base year. So the current year is a year for which we aim to find an index number. So if we want to find the index numbers of the year 2020, then the year 2020 becomes the current year. And the base year acts as a reference about which we wish to find the change in the value of the variable. So when we take a year like 2018, and we want to calculate our index numbers of 2020 based on 2018, so the 2018 becomes the base year because it's what we are going to refer to. This image here is not different from the upper one we had seen, only that now this one includes methods. So we have index numbers, then we have simple aggregate method, then we have simple average of price relatives. Then here we have weighted average of price relatives and weighted aggregate method. So they are basically four methods that we are going to use to calculate. So we begin with a simple average or price relatives method, and that one is just simple as it suggests. The price relative is equal to, maybe let me first this. So the simple price relative is equal to current year price, which we abbreviate as PN, divided by P naught, and then multiply this by 100. So this is a formula for calculating price relative, or what we call simple index. That's fine. So we get price in the current year, divide by price in the base year, we multiply by 100. And the value we get does not have any units because this is a price divided by another what? Another price. And because we are multiplying it by 100, don't get tempted to put a percentage there. It also doesn't have a percentage in it. But maybe later when we are asked to comment, since we said we base all of them at 100, then we can comment that it increased or reduced by a certain percentage. But in the calculations, we don't include it there. Then after this, we have a simple average price index. So this one, we can sum up Pn over P naught times 100, and we divide this by n, where the n would represent number of commodities or items. Is that clear? Or it can also be summation of P n over summation of P naught, then we multiply this by 100. So it depends. If you have already calculated the price relatives, you can use this method that you sum them up. Let's see. Yes, if you have calculated the price relatives, because the whole of this is a price relative, you sum them up and divide by n. But if you haven't calculated the price relative, then you add the prices in the current year, divide by the summation of prices in the base year, and you multiply it by 100. So that will be able to give you the simple average price index. So basically, those are the formulas. So let us go back to our notes. So this is what I was explaining. Even this simple aggregative method was what I also explained there. So there we get summation of P that divided by summation of P that times 100. That is for aggregate. Then later when you get some time, you come and watch this video and you understand more about the price relatives. Then we have construction of weighted index numbers. So in most cases, what happens is that we attach, some of us attach relative importance to many of those commodities we buy. So this is now where the weights come in, that some values are given, some items are given more value compared to others. So here, as we also calculate these index numbers, we take that into consideration, that some of the items weigh more than others. So here we attach weights to individual commodities. Then after attaching the weights, we calculate for price, for weighted average or price relatives, and then we also calculate for weighted aggregate method. So let us still go back for a more detailed explanation here, which is not in the notes of our formulas. So the weighted index, so what we do, we get summation of Pn times W over summation of P naught times W n times 100. So this is one of the method. So this is when we are given individual prices. Then we can also be given price relatives. So when we are given price relatives, we find summation of Pn over P naught times 100, then times W. Then after this, we divide by summation of W. So this one here stands for the price relative. So after getting this price relative, we will get price relative times W, which is the weight. Then we divide by summation of the weights. So still that is how we do. And if we are to calculate for each commodity, so the weighted index for each commodity, we get P naught, Pn over P naught times 100, which is the weight, which is the price relative, and then multiply by the weight. So this is the same as price relative multiplied by the weights. So this is the same as weighted index. So these index numbers are very simple because it is just a matter of substituting in the formula and then being able to calculate. But it should not only stop on calculating for them, because we have seen in the introduction that they are very helpful in predicting what will happen. Because if you get to know that the prices have increased, then as a consumer, as a buyer, as a seller, you can be able to make a decision in regard to what you are going to do. So those are some of the formulas that we use. Maybe we could go back and pick a single question and then calculate it. So we are now going to come here. So this one is given in terms of quantity. Maybe we'll begin with a simpler one. Okay. So let us first go through this Fisher's method of index measure. And then we also have Laplace method. So the one of Laplace is that one measures the quantities. So you get price P1 times Q1 when you see here, divide by summation of P naught times Q naught, and then you multiply by 100. So they are specified here that here summation of price relatives, so P1 times Q1, price relatives in the current year multiplied by quantities of the base year taken as weights. Then summation P naught Q naught, summation of prices of the base year multiplied by the quantities of the base year taken as weights. So that one is not much different. So it is just a matter of using a formula. Then this other one here, it is the reverse of the above. So we find summation of P1 times Q1 and then P0 times Q1. So the quantity in the current year now becomes the what? The weight. And we also multiply. Then we have Fisher's. For him, we find the square root of summation of P1 Q0 divided by summation of P0 Q1 times summation of P1 Q1 divided by summation of P0 Q1, then multiplies everything by 100. So all these types of index numbers give us the same what? The same value. So that this is some of the explanation which is in here in these notes. So what you are left with is to come go through, read the watch the videos that are there. So let me construct a simple example here, then we do it for our classwork. So I'm going to create a table. Going to create a table here, then we fill in some items together and their prices, and then we shall be in position to calculate. So here we shall have item price to 19 in 2020, then the weight. Okay, so what did we begin with? Which items did you buy majorly, like at home?
Maybe salt.
Okay, salt. What was the price in 2019?
1,200.
Sure. Yeah, I remember. I've remembered. There's a time when it went up to 1,500. Let me look for my pen here. It has disappeared. So we are beginning with salt. In 2019, it was 1,500. What is its price now?
Now it is 2,000.
Sure. As if it reduced.
I don't buy salt.
Okay. Let us make an assumption that it is at 800. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So let us first leave the weight. What else? We don't need to buy salt alone. We need some rice. how much is a kilo? How much was a kilogram of rice?
It was 2.5.
Sure. No. Let us say it was that, and it is now 3.5. So what are we left to complete our meals?
Remaining with oil.
Cooking oil. How much was a liter? Just we can just make an assumption, okay?
5
And we now say it has increased by 500. And maybe we can add others. And we say 6,000, 6,700. Okay?
Yes.
Now, okay, so let us begin calculating simple index for each commodity. Okay? So we shall say for salt, it is equal to price in 2020, which is 800. We divide this by 1,500 and we multiply this by 100. So these two zeros will go with these ones. Then we remain with 800 divided by 15.
Yeah.
What would that give us?
800 divided by 15
Yes.
will give us 53.3.
53 point
3.
0.3. Then we go to rice. The relative would be 3,500. We divide this by 4,000 and we multiply it by 100.
That is 87.5.
Then we calculate for oil, which should be 550 and divide by 5,000 and multiply this by 100.
Pardon? Okay.
5,500. Yes.
It is 500 divided by 5,000.
Yes, times 100.
Okay, that is 11.
Sure. Okay, let us first remove the two zeros. Two zeros. Okay. 5,500 divided by 50.
Is 110.
110. Then lastly, we calculate for others. So this will be 6,700. We divide it by 6,000 and multiply by 100. So the two zeros go. Then we get 6,700 divided by 60.
It is 11. That it is 111.7.
Point what? 0.7. Okay. So now what we
Yes.
have calculated is simple is simple price index or price relative for each commodity. Okay.
Yes.
Then if we want simple aggregate price index, so here we are going to sum up prices in 2020 divided by prices in 2019 and then multiply by 100. That could be one method. So this is 800 plus 3,500 plus 5 plus 6,700, and then we divide it by 1,500 plus 4,000 plus 5,000, then plus 6,000. So put in the calculator and then you give me the answer.
The answer is the answer is 106.1.
106.1. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So when we are only given price relatives and we are requested to find the simple aggregate price index, we just find summation of price relatives and divide this by n. This one happens only if they have given us price relatives. That is when we use this this formula.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And now if I rub, my pen will disappear again, and most of them will disappear, so it means I have to draw again. So it is better I go to the next one. So we are now going to have the ones that have the weights, where we are going to attach the weights. So we had salt, we had rice, we had oil, and others. Price in 2019, price in 2020, and the weight. Maybe 3. Maybe 1. Okay. And here they have requested us to find weighted index for each commodity. Each item. So the formula is Pn times W over P naught times W, then times 100. Let me see. So here I would get Pn over P naught times W, and then multiplied by 100. Okay.
Yes.
So that means we'd get this divided by this times 3, then multiply by 100. Okay. So that would be for each commodity. I think that one you can ably do. And then when they ask us for our weighted aggregate price index, here we sum up prices in the current year times W over summation of prices in the current year times W, and then times 100. So this would give us so it is more convenient that you can add some other two columns there, then you add you get P naught times N and Pn times W. Here is also times W. So you get this times 3, which would give us 40,500. This times this would give us 16,000. Okay. This times
Yes.
this would give us the same value. Then this time this would give us 12, such that at the end you add and have it here. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you do this the same 800 times this. It will give us 2,400. 3,500 times 4.
That is 14,000.
14.
Yes.
Then this times 1, it remains the same. And then 67 times 2. uh, 6,700 times 2.
That is 13,400.
13,400. So
Yeah.
after we do the addition here and then substitute in the formula, there is
Yes.
okay, so you can be adding the one with Samsung Galaxy S20. Talk to us, please. You may feel we have left you out.
For this one of this first one, it is 38,000.
Just 38,000.
Yes.
Okay.
And then for this other side, it is 35,300.
300. Okay. And then after this, we are going to come and substitute in our table here. 30,300. We divide it by 38,000 and multiply by 100. Okay.
And the answer is 92.9.
0.9. Okay. Now, suppose they had told us to comment. Okay. Our comment would be that price is reduced, or the cost of living reduced by 100 minus 92.9. Okay. And that would be
Yeah,
how much?
that would be 7.1.
0.1% reduction in in cost of what? Of living. So majorly the weighted aggregate price index is used to compare standards and then costs of living. So the cost of living here we say it reduced since this value was less than 100. But if it was more than 100, then we would do the opposite. We would get the value, then we subtract by 100 to get what would be our balance here. Are there
Yeah,
some questions for me before we conclude?
no,
Okay, so over the weekend I'm going to prepare some good work, then I will send it to you.
what about down in the
You,
website, in the WhatsApp group?
it's the one on the WhatsApp group was about scatter
That,
diagram. Scatter diagram, you can also do it now after you do it and then you submit it as well.
all right.
Yes. Okay. See you. Bye.
All right.